Hi, the SI Meteorologist, Paul Dorian here on Wednesday, May 1st. A very nice weather pattern is setting up here in the Mid-Atlantic region, really up and down the East Coast for the next several days. High pressure will anchor itself in the northeastern part of the country. Kind of an omega blocking pattern is setting up in the upper part of the atmosphere, and those areas that this morning are dry will likely stay dry for the next several days, and those areas that are wet will likely stay wet for a few days as this omega blocking pattern sets up across the U.S. In fact, let's take a look at the current 500 millibar map. This is the very latest look at the 500 millibar way up in the middle and higher parts of the atmosphere, because we can kind of see this omega blocking pattern. We got the old-fashioned omega, Greek letter omega shape setting up right here. And that's what gives this blocking pattern its name of an omega block, because the upper air flow resembles the Greek letter omega. And here in the eastern part of the country, dominated by this ridging, high pressure ridging, which is a good thing if you like sunny and dry weather. Meanwhile, out in the middle part of the country, this trough will kind of spin its wheels over the next few days, and they are in for a snowstorm today across much of the Rockies, and then by later tonight and into tomorrow across much of the northern plains and even the upper part of the Midwest. Well, let's jump ahead 48 hours to Friday morning, and here's the way the upper air map looks. Again, kind of an omega blocking pattern still in place here. As you would expect, a slow moving pattern here, still ridging right here in the eastern part of the country. And meanwhile, a deepening trough here in the center part of the country. They are stuck with a chilly pattern, and again, a major snowstorm for some areas over the next 24 to 36 hours or so out in the middle part of the country, from the southern Rockies all the way into the upper part of the Midwest. But nothing but nice weather here in the Mid-Atlantic region, as we are stuck underneath upper level high pressure. Well, let's go back to the conventional surface map here for the nation as of this morning. Again, high pressure at the surface is just anchored here over the northeastern part of the country. Dry air kind of moved in from the northeast to the southwest yesterday. Yesterday featured quite a bit of sunshine in New York City, quite a bit of clouds in D.C. region. Philly was kind of a mixed bag. The southwestern part of Philly had more clouds than sun. The northeastern part of Philly had more sun than clouds. Everywhere this morning in the Mid-Atlantic I-95 corridor from D.C. to New York is under clear skies now, as that dry air has penetrated all the way down into the southwestern part of Virginia. Meanwhile, big news again with a springtime snowstorm out here in the southern Rockies. Overnight temperatures plunged in Denver, as we expected, down to near freezing. Right now it's 32 degrees and snowing in Denver. They're probably going to get another up to 6 inches of snow by later on tonight. That accumulating snow will extend all the way up into the northwestern part of Wisconsin and southeastern Minnesota, central Minnesota, over the next 24 to 36 hours or so. It is now May 1st. This could set some May records for snowfall. It's not too tough to beat what the current record is in Omaha, Nebraska, for example, and Des Moines, Iowa. They have a shot at breaking their all-time May records. Of course, it's just May 1st, but nonetheless, this is quite an impressive cold shot with accumulating snow, again, from the southern Rockies to the upper part of the Midwest. Now, yesterday, ahead of this cold front, temperatures actually jumped quite a bit. Places like Madison, Wisconsin reached 85 degrees. Cleveland was way up in the 70s. The home run weather index apt for the Phillies-Indians game last night was a high 8. And there were 9 home runs hit, unfortunately 7 of them against the Phillies. But that warm weather will continue in Cleveland for another day. Very warm again today, way up in the upper 70s. But that colder air will work its way in to the Great Lakes region by the latter part of the week. Well, here's a current look at the radar across the nation, and here is that snow falling from Denver, Colorado. Much of this is in the form of snow right now in this particular region, and this is quite impressive. It's certainly not unprecedented to get May snow out in that part of the country, but to get this kind of a large extent of significant snow in May is somewhat rare. And again, several inches of snow is likely for Denver, Colorado, all the way across ultimately Omaha, Nebraska, and all the way up into Minneapolis over the next 24 to 36 hours or so. A large swath with significant snow for this time of the year is quite rare indeed. Meanwhile, down the southeastern part of the country, there is quite a bit of heavy shower and thunderstorm activity. A couple inches of rainfall expected today over the deep south. Well, let's take a look at some surface forecast maps by last night's Zero-Z GFS model run. We'll look at 12-hour increments beginning with this evening, Wednesday evening. Then we'll look at Thursday morning, Thursday night, and finally Friday morning. By this evening, a full-fledged snowstorm is ongoing in Denver. They are snowing right now, and that snow will extend all the way up into parts of Minnesota and northwestern Wisconsin by the time the night is done. Again, several inches of snow in this particular area. Another springtime snowstorm for that part of the country. Heavy rain on the order of 1 to 2 inches in much of the deep south here over the next 12 hours or so. High pressure, though, just sits there over the northeastern part of the country, and a day full of sunshine up and down the I-95 corridor. Well, by tomorrow morning, not much change. Dry conditions here in the Mid-Atlantic region, wet conditions out here in the middle part of the country. Not much movement because of this upper level Omega block setting up. Again, much of this will be in the form of snow. Several inches of snow can fall later on tonight into tomorrow throughout Iowa and Minnesota. It'll be wrapping up later on tonight across the eastern part of Colorado. Here's the forecast map for tomorrow evening. One thing I want to point out here in the northeast, there will be a little bit of a frontal system. Notice this little bit batch of moisture here that GFS is putting out for tomorrow evening up in New England. That's actually associated with a little bit of a frontal system that'll kind of move to the south and west. And Friday looks like it'll be a few degrees cooler than Thursday here in the Mid-Atlantic region. So there is a frontal system to watch. This time of the year, you always have to watch for these sea breeze fronts. Even though it looks like it'll be nice right through the upcoming weekend, this time of the year with the ocean still cold, you have to watch in the northeast for sea breeze fronts. And indeed, there looks like there will be a little bit of a front coming through about Thursday night in the Mid-Atlantic region, causing Friday to be a few degrees cooler than it will be today or on Thursday. Meanwhile, the wet pattern continues out here in the middle part of the country as colder air moves in and kind of slows down because of that upper level blocking pattern. They will stay wet for a few days. Finally, by Friday morning, you see that little bit of an area of moisture depicted on the GFS model. It did move southwest. It did weaken a little bit, but there can even be a sprinkle associated with that frontal system along about Thursday evening or so. And then by Friday, again, a few degrees cooler, probably mostly sunny skies as it turns out on Friday, but again, a few degrees cooler as a weak frontal system moves in from the northeast to the southwest. Meanwhile, the upper level trough just digs itself out over here in the middle part of the country. The cold air sends itself all the way down into the deep part of the plains, all the way down to Oklahoma, the cold core in the upper part of the atmosphere down across Oklahoma. So an Omega block setting up. We're lucky enough here in the eastern part of the country to be setting up with high pressure sitting on top of us, so a nice stretch of weather right through the upcoming weekend. But in the middle part of the country, it's a different story with a cold and wet pattern setting up for the next several days. That's it for now. For the SIWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.